Hello and welcome to Tax Time 2022. I'm so grateful that you've allowed us here at 123 Financial Group to help you with lodging your income tax return. We will make sure that we get you as much refund as we can, but whilst making sure that you are still legal and everything that we lodge is within the Australian tax laws. Whilst you can hear from other people that they claimed things and you want to claim them, we will not claim anything that we know will get denied in a tax audit. The reason that you pay us to do your tax return is so that you can put your head on that pillow overnight and know that you are not going to be fined for lodging a false return. So if one of our accountants tell you that they can't claim something, please understand that we're doing this because we want to make sure that you will not be audited, or if you are audited, that you will be okay. We're not there just to get you the biggest refund possible, regardless of whether you are lodging a tax return legally or not. So just a quick reminder, the way that the Australian taxation system works, we will do your tax return, which you need to sign off. Once we lodge it, the tax office will process 97% of tax returns within 14 days. That other 3% can sometimes take up to 28 days and longer. So whilst the Australian Taxation Office do say that they will process those 97% of returns inside the 14 days, we cannot contact the tax office until after the 28-day processing time has happened to find out why your tax return hasn't been processed. So please understand that if it hasn't come back in the 14 days, we will keep an eye on it, and when it hits the 28 days, then we will contact the tax office. We get clients ringing us all the time and they say, it's not back in 14 days, why? And they don't understand that we cannot chase until we hit that 28 days. The tax office simply will not talk to us. The other thing that you need to understand is once your tax return is lodged with the Australian Taxation Office, it just goes into a pool of processing. So we quite often get people ringing us and saying, my partner did their tax return at the same time, theirs is back, mine isn't, why not? Once it gets to the tax office, it is just a pool of tax returns. There's no system that these tax returns were done at the exact same time. Some are processed in 2 or 3 days, some take 4 to 5 days, some take that 10 to 14 days. So please just understand that there isn't anything we can do until we hit that 28 days. We will lodge the tax returns on the same day that you sign them, and we do quite often do 3 or 4 lodgements a day. The other thing, if you have chosen to pay your tax return, not have the fee come out of your refund, we will not lodge your tax return until that account is paid. So if you haven't paid our account, your tax return is sitting waiting to be lodged until you pay that return. Pay for that return. The other thing I just wanted to clarify is the way the system works at the Australian Taxation Office is it is what we call a self-assessed tax return. So what goes into the tax office is assumed to be within the Australian tax laws, and you do sign that declaration to say that you have lodged your return in a correct manner and under all Australian tax laws. So the tax office process whatever is in that return. They don't do any checking unless you are selected for an audit. So we quite often hear people will tell us that their mate claimed it and the tax office paid it. Your mate got to claim it because they put it into their tax return and they just didn't get an audit. The other thing that we are telling people this year to keep in mind is that the tax office or the Australian government has a debt that's hangover from the COVID support system that was put in place. Now, from a tax officer's point of view, they're after the low-hanging fruit. Why is that? Because if they get $100, say, from every single individual taxpayer, there's a lot of money that they're going to get. And it's much easier and cheaper than it is to audit the big end of town. So they go and audit a business, they'll be in there for weeks and weeks and they've got the funds to object against it and hold it up. Whereas with us, the individual taxpayer, we put our tax return in, and if the tax office can find a small amount from every single taxpayer, we're not going to object against $100 that they found. And the reason that we don't object is it will cost you more in time and fees for your accountant to lodge an objection, and it's only $100. And the tax office know that. The other thing that you need to remember when you lodge a tax return, if the tax office audit you, you are assumed guilty until you prove your innocence. So I'm going to go through a few of the work-related items in other videos of things that you can and can't claim. So jump on and have a look at those videos, but remember, it's up to you to prove that you can have that claim. The other thing to keep in mind is before the tax office audit you, they've already rung your employer. They've already found out whether you use your own car, whether you work from home, whether you have to buy your own equipment. And there's lots of things that they've already done. So it's no point waiting till you get the letter and then trying to say to your boss, oh, the tax office might ring you. Can you tell them this? One, your boss isn't going to lie because if they get caught, they get fined. But secondly, before you even know you're going to get audited, the tax office has already rung and got those answers. So we always say to everybody, lodge your tax return honestly with things that you've got receipts for, things that you've paid for yourself, and then you won't have those sleepless nights if you get selected for an audit. We're expecting in this next 12 months that audits will increase over the last few years for those reasons that I mentioned earlier. You know, the low-hanging fruit, this is where they're going to pick up where they this is where they're going to pick up funds that they've handed out over the last couple of years because of COVID support. The tax office also have not chased a lot of debts in the last couple of years because they knew everybody was struggling. And of course, that is not going to last much longer. So if you've got any questions, reach out to us. And again, thank you so much for supporting us here at 123 Financial Group.